We're going to talk about hamstring flexibility and why it matters. You may have been told by a physical therapist or a trainer at some point, stretch your hamstrings, but does it really help? Does it do anything? So let's chat about that. I'm going to break it up into different populations so we can talk about why it might matter for different people. So the first one being maybe post-op. Maybe you had a knee surgery and you're having a hard time getting that leg straight again. So the hamstrings, they do cross at the back of the knee. They cross at the back of the hip and the knee. They're a double joint muscle. And so if you are working to get that mobility back in the knee, then the hamstrings may need to be stretched so that they're not a limiting factor. We have to normalize your gait cycle and the way that you walk as quickly as possible, so we're not creating compensations or more pain somewhere else because of that. Let's say maybe you're not so active, but posturally you find yourself in those more hunched over positions, and that can lead to a posterior pelvic tilt. So the pelvis kind of tilts back, and because of that, those hamstring muscles get shortened, and so then you have a muscle length deficit, and that's something that can be stretched and worked out. And so sometimes people get low back pain symptoms, and we'll look at in physical therapy we may look at the hamstring length and determine if that's something that we should add into the rehab program that can help to reduce that pain and stiffness that people may get. Let's say you're an athlete, maybe you play football or soccer. With that, there's a lot of running, maybe sprinting and stopping. That's a lot of contracting and lengthening of those hamstrings frequently, right? So we need to be able to have the elasticity in the muscle tendon unit in order for them to be able to tolerate what you're asking of them throughout that. Even if you're walking, we do fire those hamstring muscles and lengthen them frequently throughout the cycle of walking. So that becomes important in having the ability to lengthen those hamstrings as much as they're able without causing injury. Now, for runners, it's a little bit controversial in the literature as far as does stretching my hamstrings really help my running mechanics or improve that. And while it is controversial, there is some evidence that does suggest as the flexibility of the hamstrings reduced, there is an increased likelihood of injury in that area. And so that's definitely worth keeping in mind. Now, if you're trying to decide if you have normal hamstring flexibility, one way to test it is to lie on your back, and you'll want to bring your hip up 90 degrees, and then you'll try to straighten your leg. So you want to try to bring your foot all the way up toward the ceiling. Now, if you can get it all the way straight, you may not really have a deficit there. Now, if you're having a really hard time straightening the lower half of the leg there, you may be very limited in that hamstring area, which is a great reason to stretch them out. So in this video, I've included some dynamic stretches, which are great to do before you go and work out. Get the blood circulating and get those muscles ready to do that work. And then there's also some static stretches and some foam rolling in this video. So hopefully that helps you kind of set up your stretch and know what to do. And you do want to try to hold it for 30 to 60 seconds if you're doing a static stretch, and try to do that up to 3 times so that you can really get that lengthening in those muscles.